Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. In today's video, we're going to break down how Liverpool moved back to the top of the Premier League table despite Chelsea playing decently well in the opening half before Jurgen Klopp made some slight adjustments and ensured that Liverpool were able to kill off the game. Also with Eden Hazard's brief stint where he moved to the left and caused them some danger. But before we get into today's video, don't forget to give our video a thumbs up if you do enjoy it. The bell below does give you daily notifications regarding our organic, unfiltered soccer/footy analysis. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. But before we get into today's video, let's get to the starting lineups. We look at Liverpool, no real surprises here. 4-3-3, Mane, Firmino, Salah up front. In midfield, Henderson, Fabinho, and Naby Keita. Then we move to Chelsea, not going with the conventional striker. Eden Hazard up front, Hudson-Odoi and Willian out in the wider areas. And in midfield, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Conte, and Jorginho. So now let's get to the first half, see how Chelsea look to approach the game and why they caused Liverpool so many issues in the opening half. So when we break down Chelsea against Liverpool, the first thing we have to look at is Chelsea's shape, moving to more of a 4-5-1. Eden Hazard up front. Obviously, you can see they're looking to play on the counterattack. Willian, Hudson-Odoi, and Hazard, who are counterattacking players that could break with speed if Chelsea are able to win the ball and break quickly. However, the other reason why Hazard possibly was played up front is based off the fact that they don't want a defensive liability out in the wider areas with Liverpool so reliant on Trent Alexander-Arnold and Robertson pushing forward. Now you have Willian out there, you have Hudson-Odoi, who are more reliable to do a job in those wider areas, and that's probably why Sarri went with that. In midfield, you have the midfield battle set out here. Naby Keita against Conte tracking each other. You have Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who's supposed to be marking Henderson, and then you have Jorginho sitting at the base, not really looking to press Fabinho because of the fact that Firmino likes to tuck into that space, and Mane and Salah are also renowned for tucking in to ensure that the fullbacks push forward. So with that being said, Liverpool did have the onus to break down Chelsea, given that they were looking to go back to the top of the Premier League table. And with Chelsea dropping out into that 4-5-1, they did have some issues. Liverpool did press from the front, similar scheme. They have the wider players sticking out to the fullbacks and the center backs. They have Firmino looking to press within, but they never really caused Chelsea any problems in those zones. Chelsea were able to push forward as the game wore on, and they did find their counter-attacking outlets through Hazard and Willian. More so with Willian down the left channel with simple long balls, one from Rudiger and Luiz over Trent Alexander-Arnold, but nothing stemmed from those attacks there. But again, just a warning sign from Chelsea that they can attack those ploys. When you look at Hudson-Odoi, he was able to get the ball on a few occasions down the right-hand side, and he was able to run at Robertson. However, apart from one cross that did force Alisson to push it away, a lot of his crosses, when Robertson did drop off and there was no cover, were cleared. They were tame, and there was no one to really attack them, and you could say that's down to the fact that Chelsea didn't have a center forward up front. But when you look at Liverpool's main chances, they never really were able to force Chelsea into severe pressure or Kepa. Because when you think about it, you had Firmino making those darting runs into the inside half spaces. Salah was often playing a bit more narrow to possibly push Alexander-Arnold forward. But when you look at the battle, all he needs to really do, if they could get long balls over Emerson so he could run in behind or possibly shift over to run at Emerson, you would fancy Salah's chances there. Mane was tucking in as well. But when we look to one of Liverpool's better chances, it is Fabinho sliding the ball across Conte for Keita pushing forward. And what does he do? He slides the ball out to Mane, who's able to drive down the left-hand side and clip the ball towards Firmino and Jordan Henderson breaking in, and none of them get to it, but it falls to Mo Salah, and he fires a shot into the ground at Kepa. But besides that, and one more play that we'll get to in a bit, they weren't really causing Chelsea many issues, and that was a big worry because when you look at the midfield, they did perform well against Porto, and one of the reasons why is because with Keita, you have the direct dribbling, but Conte was there. With Jordan Henderson, you expect him to make those long runs, those late runs into the box, late runs into the wide areas to create space for other players to push forward, and Ruben Loftus-Cheek wasn't doing a good job on him, and that was based on the way that Chelsea were looking to press from the front, which is they had Hazard stepping forward, and they often had Ruben Loftus-Cheek as the man that would push forward to either press Fabinho in the earlier stages to close him down. And if he did that, then Jorginho would shift over to ensure that Henderson couldn't get on the ball. And there were times where they had Ruben Loftus-Cheek push to Matip, and that would see Conte push forward to Fabinho, and that would leave space for Jorginho to stick to Henderson. And then the wider players would push out to the fullbacks. And that was Chelsea. That was the way that Chelsea were going about their business in terms of the way that they're defending, and that was pivotal for them because they were struggling to build out the back, even on goal kicks. When Chelsea were looking to play out of the back, you would have Firmino, you would have two wider players sticking out, or two central midfielders in Conte and in Jorginho stepping in between Firmino, and you'd have Mane and Salah stepping to the center backs pushing wide, but they weren't willing to make that risk to play out of the back to pull in Liverpool, and that was pivotal. But when we do look to Chelsea's chances in that first half, like I said, a lot of them through Willian and through Hazard, and that was key. Luiz for the first time pass through Fabinho and through Henderson for Hazard dropping off, and he pulls out Matip with the back heel to Loftus-Cheek. You see Willian shift out to the left-hand side, and initially as Hazard pulls him out, he darts into space and behind Matip. Ball to Willian. Willian pokes it to Hazard. Matip does recover, but Hazard cuts in and out, fires a low shot on goal. Just one example as to how Hazard and Willian were combining. Shortly after that, Liverpool think that they're able to pull Chelsea out of position. You have Fabinho stepping forward, and when Fabinho steps forward, that pull to the right that has Willian step to him, and then you have Ruben Loftus-Cheek stepping forward as well. Now you see the pass being played in between those two players for Salah, Nero, and Jorginho, but they both miss it. And what happens there is that now David Luiz clips the ball into the left channel beyond Henderson. He's able to run at Matip, cuts in on Henderson, bends his effort wide of the net. Those two chances right there go to show what Chelsea were trying to do, despite probably missing Hazard in the left-sided role. We'll get to that in the second half, but that was how they're going about their business. Liverpool were struggling to create chances. Although they did have much of the ball, not a lot of combinations out in the wider zones. Firmino was dropping off, but no runners in behind. And perhaps they needed to go at Emerson because the only real chance they had besides the Salah shot that really caused Kepa some problems, or were supposed to cause Kepa some problems, was David Luiz stepping forward, splitting Henderson and Firmino, playing it into Loftus-Cheek, but Matip steps to him, and then you see with Emerson a bit higher because he's trying to get forward, ball into Salah who runs at Luiz, and you have Mane running across the two defenders, plays it into him, but he bends his effort wide. So the first half for Chelsea didn't go as bad as many would have expected with Hazard in the central role, and Liverpool needed to up the tempo. So now let's get to the second half, see what slight modifications Klopp made to help Liverpool kill off the Blues. When we break down the second half, the only real change that we saw was Christensen moving into center back for Rudiger midway through the first half, but Chelsea did drop off a bit more deeper towards their box, and we did see an increased Liverpool press in the earlier stages, but what we did see that was key was Mo Salah was hugging the touchline more often rather than drifting in a bit narrow like he did in the first half. Obviously, they were looking to try to get that 1v1, and we did see Firmino looking to make more runs across Luiz, and to no surprise, that was involved in the build-up to the goal. We do see the ball switched out to Mo Salah, and we see Firmino darting across Luiz, and the ball poked into him. And what we end up seeing here is he does nutmeg Luiz, but Emerson does track it well. The problem is that Jordan Henderson made a run across him. No one called it off. He's able to win the ball. You think Chelsea's still okay here with Henderson at the byline, but the problem here is that you have Azpilicueta tracking Naby Keita's run into the box, but no one tracks Mane, and Hudson-Odoi had the opportunity to do that. For some odd reason, he was more worried about Robertson, and that allowed Mane at the back post to nod his effort freely past the keeper. And just like that, you see Henderson's running, Firmino's darts, Salah moving more to the touchline to get into 1v1 situations with Emerson playing a key role here. Shortly after that, within 2 minutes or so, again, ball shifted out to Salah on that right-hand side. No one closing him down, able to skip past Emerson and able to skip past his other marker with Jorginho not closing him down quickly, and he fires an unstoppable effort past Kepa, 2-0. Liverpool, you could say they're out of sight, but that was the MO of their attacks. We saw 2 more instances where you see the ball shifted out to Arnold, and Loftus-Cheek ends up stepping to him. Henderson makes a dart into that space to pull out Emerson. Quick 1-2, bypasses Jorginho. Firmino ahead of the back 4, fires a shot inches wide of the net. Another time, Salah gets getting the ball out on that right touchline. What we see, Arnold making the overlapping run, but this was after Eden Hazard moved to the left-hand side, not tracking Arnold, allows Salah to cut onto his left foot, fires a shot at Kepa. But just like that, you see with Salah just moving more to the width of the pitch, stretching it out a bit, going 1v1 with Emerson, Chelsea couldn't cope because as good as Emerson could be going forward, he's not the greatest defensively, and that's where they found the weakness for against Chelsea's backline. Chelsea did bring on Gonzalo Higuain. They moved Hazard to the left-hand side, and we did see an improved performance from them. They did cause Liverpool some problems, and you can make the case that they should have scored at least 2 goals in the opening 10 minutes following Higuain's arrival to the pitch, and that's because now Hazard was more involved. Yes, you do risk the fact that they can overload that side against Emerson, but they're already down 2-0, and perhaps this is the way that most Chelsea fans would think that Sarri should have started the game, because what happens here, Hazard from a short corner kick eventually runs off his marker and breaks in free. Emerson ball over the top, 1v1 with Alisson, fires his shot off the post. Shortly after that, we get a better idea of what he's all about because Salah was dropping deeper. As Liverpool moved to a 4-5-1, he runs into Salah and Fabinho, lays it off to Higuain, who switches the ball out to Willian. And just like that, he makes the run off of Arnold and behind Matip to get the cross in behind, and he fires a shot right at Alisson. He should score that. Those were 2 golden opportunities that he will rue, and besides that, he was just more involved, dribbling past opponents, getting players more involved. Chelsea weren't solely playing on the counterattack, albeit they did have to push forward, but they looked much better going forward with Hazard to the left than in the central position, but Liverpool were able to soak it up. They created some chances. They probably should have scored more goals. Firmino with a great defensive job on 2 occasions, dropping off to dispossess Jorginho, one time dropping off to dispossess Ruben Loftus-Cheek. But after Hazard had that brief spell where he was dominating, this was about Liverpool. They cruised it up. They cruised out. They saw off the game. 3 points back to the top of the table. But let me know what you guys think. Will Liverpool win the Premier League this season? What will stop them? And what about Chelsea? Will they finish in the top 4? Meet me in the comments below. Don't forget I upload videos every day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And that was your daily dose of the interviews.